Hello and welcome to episode 286 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
For the Wolves 77 Club on Facebook. We're also on Twitter at 77 Club Podcast. Please subscribe on YouTube and Spotify.
Jack Williams is here.
Hello, everybody. Hope you all had lovely Christmases.
And Baylis is skiing, genuinely. So that's where he is. No Baylis this week. Well, Happy New Year, gents. Going into 2025, we've got two games to catch up on this time around. It was 2-0 win against Manchester United at Molineux and the 2-2 draw away to Spurs in the Premier League. We'll be looking at the Forest game as well, which is on the 6th of January. I'm doing everything by dates because I still don't know what day it is today. I think it's Monday. We can't be too sure. Harry, let's start with Manchester United. I took my neighbour to his first Wolves game. He needed a football team to support. He's over from America. And he went to an Albion game, said it was a shithole. I went, I've got the team for you. Let's do Man United on Boxing Day. And to be honest, I don't think we could have picked a better game for him to sort of get his first taste of Molineux. The atmosphere was electric. Even the light show at the beginning of the match was brilliant, and obviously it was the result that not many of us were expecting, but very, very glad for.
Yeah, a nice swap seats with him, didn't I? I ended up sitting in the north. Yes. It was a good experience actually, sitting in the North Bank upper, right on the front row. Do prefer the North Bank lower though. A lot more space in the concourse, but I digress. Yeah, the game. I wasn't mega confident we could beat Man United, although looking at them, they've been struggling. They're obviously down in the bottom half of the Premier League, and they was before this game. But we played really well. The high we're on after beating Leicester 3-0 away, we carried that on. 8-0, we obviously came in for Rodrigo Gomez, which was the only change, and we kind of picked up from where we left off. Not too much happened first half, fairly even. I know Sarr pulled off a really good save. We had a few chances of our own, but the turning point obviously was the red card, wasn't it? And we eventually took advantage of that. But as you say, mate, good atmosphere at Molineux. It's good to see Molineux like that again, as it's been very toxic under Gary O'Neill. So to have Vítor Pereira come in, have the bounce, coming off the back of the brilliant away win at Leicester, it was a pleasure to be there, and it was a very, very enjoyable Boxing Day victory. And thankfully for us as well, Manchester United are crap.
Yeah, I sort of second that, Jack. I'm sure you do as well. I mean, I just want to know what your experience was like in the Steve Bull.
It was fine. You know, I've sat in the Steve Bull upper on occasion before. I wouldn't want to do it every game just because the seats, everything's a bit narrow. The concourse, it's really hard to get a drink, and it's really compact because we're in J2. I think it was. You have to walk all the way sort of down from across the whole length of the stand. So it needs redoing. We know it needs redoing. It needs knocking down, but I don't mind it for the odd game, especially if it means we can all squeeze up and get extra sort of family members in on Boxing Day. Would I want to be paying £850 or whatever it is to sit there every week? Probably not. So the people who do that do have some sympathy. But, overall, great experience, and just a win against Man United is always going to put a smile on a Wolves fan's face, isn't it, really? And just really pleased. I mean, the biggest thing from me, particularly from those first two games, is not the fact that we've necessarily got 6 points. It's the fact that we've got 2 clean sheets back to back. That's a massive step in the right direction, when I think Gary O'Neill had about 1 in 30 or something ridiculous in his Premier League game. So it seems like Pereira's come in and he's tweaked things a little bit, but also put a lot of confidence and belief back in those players, and you can see it. And some of the things that he's done and just changed relatively quickly. And it's just little things, really. The standout player for me across probably these 3 games in total is Matt Doherty. I think he's been brilliant. I think that's been really helpful to us. He's been winning so much in the air, and we just look a lot more solid at the back. And I know Spurs we'll talk about that in a bit. So it wasn't quite at the same level, but mate, it's those first 2 games and winning them back to back, and then topping it off, with a win at home to Man United is just dream Christmas for any Wolves fan, really. And I'm also not quite buying into this narrative, and I think it's probably come from a lot of the Man United fans after. It's just that the fact that the outcome would have been different if Fernandes wasn't sent off, because I watched the whole game back. That's the good thing about it being on Amazon Prime, is you can just go back and watch it whenever you want. And I thought, rather than just watch it in the stands, I will watch it back in my own time, because I was, everyone's got a bit more time over Christmas just to doss about, lie on the sofa and watch that back. And even in the first half, I thought we were a better side. Like, I thought we were a better team in the first half. We created the better chances. There was very, very little, really. I think there was that one sort of long range effort, which I was a bit worried about, which Sarr saved in the first half. And then I think we were pretty damn comfortable up until the point where we probably started making substitutions in the second half and started to panic a little bit. But it was a nervy last 10 minutes or so. But really, I think the only time that Man United looked like scoring was a time that, I don't know if you remember, it was quite late on, where there was a ball into the box and Maguire heads it, but it goes nowhere. But if you watch that back, there's two men over there. And if Maguire had left it, I think they probably would have had a great chance of scoring. But luckily, it goes right off his slab head and right up in the air, and Sarr just catching practice. So, I think it's a massive win. We really needed it. Obviously, the Man United fans are not very happy with anything, but they have been poor this season. But I'm also reluctant to buy into the fact that we wouldn't have still won that game if they hadn't had Fernandes sent off. But at the same time, you just got to point at Fernandes, because he's getting sent off a lot, so it's his own stupid fault.
Third time this season, absolutely right. Harry, let's talk about Cunha's goal, obviously straight from the corner. We'd seen the week before Son for Spurs had done exactly the same, scoring directly from a corner. Onana, just when you look at him, he just looks like a keeper that is not very high on confidence at all. Doesn't really command his area very well. Seems to be like an all right shot stopper, but these ball playing goalkeepers, I just don't understand it, to be honest. And it just seems that they were targeting him every single time, because in the air he'd just flap at it.
Yeah, and Cunha as well actually tried one first half, you remember, but Onana did parry it away, like he shot. So it was a tactic which he revealed after the game, didn't he? It was a Vítor Pereira tactic for Cunha just to shoot, because obviously you referred to the fact that they'd had it against some of the Spurs. But yeah, and it's hilarious that they were trying to protest that should have been a foul, when you think back to Onana absolutely clattering Kalajic first game of the season under O'Neill, and he's like, hold on, I think he come out and said something like, oh yeah, two big men coming together, and then he's protesting because Doherty was stood in front of him with his arms out. It's just like, come on, man. Great goal, obviously poor goalkeeping. He probably should make space for himself and tip it over, but we're not going to complain, are we? A fantastic finish from Cunha, who on the day was unbelievable when he ran the show. And it made me laugh as well that the Man United fans were like, yeah, great audition, Cunha. You're going to be a Man United player now. That was your audition to join us. I'm thinking, fuck off, man. Like, that's a step sideways these days. You are so shit. He's going to go to a better club and a better club and a club higher up the table than Man United when he does leave in the summer. So that is so funny that they still think, and they're so arrogant, and they think they're still the big boys that they were under Fergie, but they're just not. The last decade, they've become a mediocre club who every now and then win an FA Cup and sometimes get into Europe. So that's just hilarious. And it's karma, because they're all glory hunters, especially around our area, who support them. So I absolutely love beating them, and I love rubbing it in their faces. Anyway, enough about my personal grudges. And yeah, Cunha was unbelievable on the day, and obviously he was instrumental in setting up Hwang at the end as well, getting the assist.
Jack, what do you think of, you mentioned Doc there, actually, and he came out after the United game and was just saying that the difference between Pereira and obviously not naming Gary O'Neill, but obviously the previous manager, and saying that actually it really does help when you can speak all of the languages fluently. All the lads in the group who are Portuguese, he's speaking to in Portuguese. All of the ones that speak Spanish, he's speaking Spanish to, and English and whatever. So he seems to be getting he's able to get his ideas across in a much better way. But also the game management from Pereira, as Harry's just sort of said, that when it looked to get a little bit edgy, sort of came out and obviously hit him on the break, and Hwang got our second goal.
Well, he must be bloody fluent in Korean, because Hwang scored a 2-2 after looking like he can't kick a football all season. So there's definitely something going on there. But I hadn't seen that interview from Doherty, actually, but it's a good point, isn't it? Maybe it is being able to speak fluent Portuguese when, whether it be the Brazilians or obviously the Portuguese players we've had since Fosun took over, being able to communicate with them in fluent in their mother tongue, it probably is going to be a decent advantage, isn't it, really? And his English is really good. Obviously, I didn't know too much about him before he came, but his post-match interviews and everything, his English is spot on, really, which is the same goes for a lot of people, Europeans, really. They learned English from a young age as a second language and put us all to shame, really. So, but yeah, that could have a good point, really. But there's a couple of interesting things that have come out in the post-matches, and it seems like there are things that have been implemented quickly, which have had big results in the game. I thought it was interesting to see Cunha say that when we were talking about the first goal, just that Cunha to say they've been practicing trying to score direct from corners. And, that's something that we saw just immediately paid dividends. So they've done their homework there and those sorts of things. I agree. It was absolute nonsense that Man United were even trying to protest that. But you saw after the goal, they were all crowded around the ref, like crying for a VAR review. And then you watch it back and you think, what he's just stood there. Doherty's in front of him, Brenner's behind him. If we ever get to the stage where, like, these keepers are protected enough as it is, if we ever get to the stage where you're not allowed to touch the goalkeeper, if he's to let him claim the ball, then it's just going to kill the game off, isn't it? So it was just nonsense that they're even protesting that, and I reckon watching it back, they probably feel a little bit embarrassed that they're even trying to sort of dupe that, because it's just pure. Poor commanding of the box, and we have every right to put players wherever we want to, and they can stand their ground. It's absolutely fine. So, but yeah, nice to see tactics being implemented and getting a little glimpses into it afterwards. So it's quite refreshing, really, to see people actually doing their homework, seemingly most of the time playing players in their strongest position and these sorts of things. So it's the little tweaks, isn't it? But I think above all, it's just he seems to have just come in and put a little bit of a refresh and a bit more belief back in these players. And I know towards the end of the O'Neill tenure, he was just trying to point to the fact that we've sold 200 million pounds worth of players, whatever it might be, this and that. But he'll probably be feeling like a little bit of a wally now, seeing that those group of players have suddenly ground out, 7 points, 7 points from 3 games, 2 clean sheets. And it's exactly the same group of players that he was calling out each week, a different person for not being good enough or not doing this, not doing that. But maybe it was just him.
But yeah, I mean, we'll obviously talk about Forest, but there's a chance, I'm not saying that will happen, but obviously he will eclipse what Gary O'Neill managed in however many games it was, 16 in 3, so 4. So yeah, it'd be very interesting. Harry, I think one of the unsung heroes at the moment, and has gone pretty much under the radar, although we have sort of given him praise where it's been due, is Semedo, and who's taken on the role of captain like a duck to water. It seems a really, really good fit for him.
Yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant. And on the captaincy subject, I don't think we've missed Mario Lemina at all. Not just as captain, him not being in there, like Andre and João Gomez are amazing against Man United. So was another one, Aït-Nouri, I thought was fantastic as well. He had big pressure on him coming in for Rodrigo Gomez after Leicester. But yeah, Semedo's brilliant. He really is. He's been amazing and consistent for the past 2 seasons, I'd say. He obviously struggled when he first came in. Obviously, famously on our podcast, Bayliss hated him from the word go. And he did struggle at first, but I really want him to sign a new deal. He's, like I say, one of our most senior players. Looks like Dawson's on his way out. His legs are going, but I think Semedo's definitely got a few years left in him, and I don't mind him staying on as captain, to be honest. I've seen the clip of him in the tunnel as well, coming out against Man United. He's very vocal, which you don't seem to come across that way when you look at him on the pitch, but in the tunnel and that, he's very vocal, and he was like encouraging them and things like that. And he obviously leads by example with his performances. But yeah, brilliant. And as I say, there were so many standouts on individual performances against Man United. I thought Toti Gomez had a fantastic game despite being shaky in a few moments, but overall he was brilliant. And I think we missed him a little bit against Spurs, which we'll get on to. But yeah, fantastic. Every person, even all the subs that come on, Tommy Doyle, great tackle and ball through to Cunha for the second goal to seal it. And yeah, if Cunha weren't on the pitch, if Cunha didn't count, Andre would have been my man of the match. I thought he was amazing in midfield. He's such a good player. But yeah, there we go. That's all I've got to say on that.
And a man of the match for you, Jack, in the battle of the Portuguese managers?
I mean, goal and assist for Cunha, you got to say to him, haven't you, really? But I mean, I would put a shout in for Doherty, but probably consistently a shout for Doherty across the last 3 games, really, to be honest. But yeah, Cunha, you got to give it to Cunha, and you just see for goal and assist.
Yeah, I think Cunha for me too. Let's move on to the South Korea derby, Harry. Son versus Hwang. Fantastic opening goal from Hwang. Obviously, you mentioned that he's 2-2 now. A brilliant move, great finish. It was reminiscent of the Ruben Neves goal against Villa 2019, possibly the pullback and the first time finish. Incredible.
He was reminiscent as well of Jamie O'Hara against West Brom back in the day in the 1-1 draw away. Got it back. I think he did the same against Blackpool as well that season. But yeah, just before we got the Hwang goal, the team lineup was a shock, wasn't it? I think obviously fatigue was a huge factor in that. Obviously Hwang starting for Strand Larsen and Bellegarde starting was a big surprise for me, starting over Guedes, because Guedes was really good against Man United as well, and obviously against Leicester. Dawson being left centre-back now, for me, I would have started Doc left centre-back just because he's played left-back and left wing-back before, and maybe he'd have been a little bit more comfortable on that side, because I thought Dawson really struggled there, just looked a bit uncomfortable, and he really struggled first half for me. But yeah, first half, obviously going 1-0 up was fantastic. Another set-piece goal, like Vítor Pereira. I saw an interview of Hwang after the game. He said they'd been working on that the last 2 training sessions, that particular free kick, and it paid off straight away. So again, just Vítor compared to O'Neill already, it's night and day, just little things like that. So a great set-piece goal. But on the other hand, we concede a set-piece straight away. Poor defending, zonal marking again. I don't get it. He gets the run on Andre and Dawson, doesn't he? We'd looked okay against Leicester and Man United, but I think there's still improvements to be made in set defending corners, because they nearly scored one straight after that again. It just went wide of the post, another free header. The penalty, for me, was not a penalty. They just ran. It was more of a foul on Andre than the other way around. And the fact that VAR didn't overrule it was a disgrace and a joke. I don't get that. But a good save from Sarr. He had a weird game, didn't he? Obviously nearly lost the ball in the stoppage time, 2-2. Remember that. But yeah, and then the goal again for me, Dawson, and even Santi struggled a little bit on the second goal, just on the stroke of half time. But second half, amazing. Great substitutions from Vítor. And we more than deserve the draw in the end.
Yeah, I mean, shall I just go through that team, the Tottenham team, just so Sarr in goal, Doherty, Bueno, Dawson, Ait-Nouri, João Gomez, Andre, Semedo, Bellegarde, Cunha, Hwang. Yeah, like Harry just said, Jack, it all sort of seemed to fall into place. Getting something at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium again, which is great. Vulnerable at corners, but to be expected with some of those changes in there. Obviously, you were there. So what was it like? What were the Spurs fans like? Because it seems that they're never happy. They want to be playing attacking football, but then they don't want to lose games. They're just a bunch of bitches, really, aren't they?
That's a bit harsh. We had a little chat to a couple of them sort of before the game, and they're all they tend to have their head screwed on. They're not deluded like some other top club fans. Really, they know their crap. So it kind of helps a little bit. But no, obviously it was a good day from a Wolves fan perspective. I was a bit worried at times, to be honest. It was great to go 1-0 up. No sort of obviously great set piece, and then I thought we didn't do too badly. We controlled the ball quite well in parts of that first half, like for a good sort of 20 minutes. But it was really annoying to sort of let in the goal so soon after to make it 1-1, especially from a soft corner. And we've let in so many goals from corners this season. It was kind of a flashback to the Gary O'Neill era, wasn't it, really? Because it was just too easy, and it was just annoying to let them back in the game so quickly. But then I think after that, we sort of, there was parts of that first half where it was 1-1, where we were passing the ball around quite well, maybe not creating as much as we probably should have done. Then, yeah, the penalty, I know Harry said he doesn't think it was a penalty. From where I was stood, it looked like a penalty, to be honest. There wasn't really much in there. Bear in mind, it is the opposite end, though. So the Wolves fans are in the opposite corner, basically, to where the foul was committed. And my first reaction was, oh shit, that's a penalty. And so I wasn't particularly surprised to see it given and then not overturned, to be honest. But good save from Sarr, and then from that save though, everyone's just sort of looking around and saying the same thing to each other in the away end. It's like, right, just get to half time 1-1 here. Just whatever we do, get in 1-1 at half time. Let's just do nothing silly. And obviously, what do we go and do? Then we let in really another soft goal because I don't know. it was Johnson, wasn't it? He just plays the ball to, is it Kulusevski? It might have been.
Yeah.
And our players just follow the ball and nobody stays with Johnson. So it's just, and then it's the simplest sort of cutback, and it's 2-1 just before half time. The home fans have then obviously got their tail up and everything. And I'm worried going in at half time, thinking, oh, this is looking a bit like a bit of a task now, because if ever they get a third goal, it's probably going to kill the game off. So I suppose going back to what you were saying about the team, I was surprised at the team, and I thought the only reason for the changes must have been fatigue, really. Obviously, we now know that Totti has an actual injury, don't we? So, but I was shocked to see Guedes and Strand Larsen dropped, and I think the only reason that must be is the quick turnaround time, because I couldn't really see any other reason for that. And obviously, I think they must have read my mind, because I said we need to get Guedes and Strand Larsen on this pitch, and it happened straight away at half time. Probably something, again, Gary O'Neill wouldn't have done until about the 78th minute. So that's quite a refreshing change. Shocked that it was for Cunha. Like, I'm assuming he must have had a knock. Yeah, so I was quite pleased when I saw that they were doing the subs when they came out, and it was basically Strand Larsen and Guedes stood in the halfway line. And then I saw Hwang running on the pitch still. I was like, what's going on here? Because I thought he was going to be off straight away, and you're thinking, oh, it's for Cunha. But, second half, you can't really knock the performance. I know they had some chances. I know we rode our luck a little bit at times with a couple of them, but we were right in that game. And it got to the point where Spurs were just trying to basically see out what they got. And, we pop up with a little bit of magic. Great ball from Ait-Nouri. Even better finish from Strand Larsen, who absolutely smacks it. And I don't think anybody was expecting him to, not even the Wolves fans. And it just ends up in the roof of the net. So fair play to him, really. So to wrap it all off, but I was worried the last few minutes when they put up 8 minutes of injury time, because in my head, I don't know where that came from. I was expecting about 4 or 5. I know there's a couple of times people actually went down injured, but it didn't seem like they were down for that long. So I know we ended up playing about 10 in the end, didn't we? So it got a little bit nervy towards the end, but I think we were happier with the point than Spurs were. So very happy to take it, and unbeaten in 3 under Pereira, a point away from home and 2 wins, 7 out of 9. I don't think we could have asked for anything more than this, realistically. I think it's absolutely the dream start. So
I absolutely agree. One thing Gary O'Neill would have said, Harry, was that he wanted to get 90 minutes out of Strand Larsen. And what a difference it makes when you can sort of see out the whole game. Although he sort of almost didn't against Man United, because they sort of messed up his substitution from memory at one point. He came off and was back in the fans, and then all of a sudden was back on again. But like Jack said, got on the end of that Ait-Nouri through ball, which was off his right foot, incredibly for him, obviously left-footed player. And then just Fraser Forster, sort of no chance, but almost couldn't be asked with it. It seemed, if it was like higher than his shoulders, he wasn't really bothered.
Yeah, well, obviously, Strand to play 45 minutes, didn't he? Because he come on at half time, because he probably was knackered from that Man United game. But just on Ait-Nouri, we're on the subject. He was amazing against Spurs. He obviously set up Hwang. He was in second half, especially. He was flying down that left every 2 minutes, putting balls in, and then tricks everybody, cuts it onto his right, and the vision to put that free ball through to Strand Larsen was unbelievable. There's a reason why top teams are, again, like Cunha, top teams are looking at Ait-Nouri as well, because his goal contributions from left wing back this season have been crazy, and he has had a bit of a dip in form as well at times. But when he's on it, man, he's one of the best left wing backs in the country. There's no doubt. But I was buzzing for Strand Larsen. I thought, I think we've said a few times on here, I think his goal return has been brilliant in the struggling team. And I think that's his 7th league goal. He can frustrate me at times, where I think he could use his strength a bit more and hold the ball up a bit more. That he needs to improve that, especially against Man United. I think he struggled with that at times. But we could have won it as well. Doc, with that header late on, we could have got the 3rd. That was a good save from the Forster. We also could have lost it, because as I mentioned a minute ago, they saw what the hell he was doing at that 1 bit of stoppage time when he nearly lost the ball, and he just losing his head every now and then. But thankfully, it didn't have an effect on us, and we kept it out. I thought Santi had a good game. He made that one block, didn't he? Last stitch block when the star got rounded. But fantastic performance. The substitutions, bringing on Forbes, I thought was a good move. He looked very energetic down that left-hand side with Ait-Nouri's second half. Rodrigo Gomez put in a good shift when he come on. I thought, obviously, the Tommy Doyle come on, which was forced. I think Andre got injured, and I thought Tommy Doyle struggled a bit, kept giving the ball away. But he was brilliant against Man United, so just a bit of a dip from him. But on the whole, apart from Dawson, for me, who like I said, really struggled first half. I think his age is really starting to catch up with him now. He's obviously been a brilliant servant for the club, but I think this will be his last season as a Wolves player just because of his age. But yeah, reliable player, but his legs are going a bit. He looked a bit out of place. He looked a bit off it, like a yard off the game at times with the quick players running at him. But buzzing for Strand Larsen. Aït-Nouri was my man of the match. I thought he was fantastic. Guedes, again, he come on at half time.
Really
brilliant.
good, I thought.
Really good. I mean, he's a different player. That's the thing with Vítor. He's just given a lot of these players confidence. Hwang, 2 goals in 2. I think he's had 2 shots and scored 2 goals. I think that's a stat, which is a fantastic. Guedes is a new player. Doc, we've mentioned Doc. He's turned Doc into... He's gone from a player that you never would think would be a player next season to he's one of our best centre-backs at the moment, which is mad, considering he's been a right wing-back for most of the time. And what a servant he's been to Wolves. Like, is it 12 years on and off he's been with us? Crazy when you think about the career he's had at Wolves. He'd definitely go down as a legend. But yeah, amazing results, amazing away draw. Although Spurs are struggling, it was fantastic because at half-time, especially when Cunha got pulled, I was thinking, where's our goals going to come from here? But to be credit to the players, we did look dangerous even without Cunha on the pitch.
100%, totally agree. I mean, Jack sort of finished off with not score prediction.
Score prediction. I think it'd be 2-2. Just before that, it was. I remember there was a. It's quite funny. There was a group of lads stood just behind me, and pretty much all through the second half, they were having this debate about whether or not Strand Larsen is shit. And I think 2 of them said he was shit. And 2 of them said, no, he's not shit. He's really good. And then obviously he pops up and does that. But he's still splitting opinion a little bit. And I think he's had a really good season. I think what they were saying is he should do more with his strength, which is kind of what you just said, Harry, isn't it? I think with his hold-up play, which I think is fair enough. But for a big guy, I think his finishing has been really good this season. He's got a few assists as well. So it's interesting that he's still dividing opinion a little bit. But I don't know what you guys think, but I think he's good.
Jack, and when I say about his strength and that's me being really picky because he's fantastic in a team that has been in the bottom 3 most of the season and struggling to get a win. His goal return's been incredible. I mean, 7 goals. I like Cunha. Maybe it's because you got Cunha next to him, and Cunha's just an absolute monster. So everyone's thinking he should be on the same level as him, but you can't be. Now, I'm surprised that people think he's terrible. Like them lads who said he was shit. Come on, man. Yeah, the stats for themselves. He can be really frustrating. There are moments when the ball comes to him, but he's still learning his trade a bit. And what is he, mid-20s? He's not that old, is he?
He's not that old.
He's still young. To come into a brand new league, the Premier League, which is apparently the hardest league in the world, he's done fantastic for me. And if we didn't have him, we'd be a lot worse off. Although Hwang come on to replace him well. Just while you're on players, I just got up the comment. Hold on. I forgot to mention this. Thoughts on Bellegarde. He had an absolute stinker first half. There was no surprise why he got pulled off. Gary O'Neill loved Bellegarde, didn't he? He always started him. And he played okay sometimes. I think back to his goal away at Forest, absolute screamer. But the majority of the time this season, he has had a stinker. I don't think he's a right forward. I think he's more of like a cam. And I don't think we're playing a system where he's going to fit in. He'd probably be better off playing as one of the 2 centre midfielders, but we've got that many centre midfielders. He's never going to get in there. And I don't know what's going to happen with him, but unless Vítor can change his position or something, I don't think we're going to see much of him because that was a poor performance.
I agree, and I'm glad that someone reminded us to call it out, really. It's one of those where I don't know what his best position is, and he's been here a while now. And every time he does play, he plays sort of out on the wing. And he's scared to beat a man. He's always plays so cautiously. And then when there is an overlap from, say, Semedo, he tends to, not play the ball at the right time or something, or play so conservatively that it's not really an outlet from an attacking sense. So I feel for him because I like Harry said, I think his natural position is to play more centrally, but we just haven't seen it or utilised it in that way, have we? And he's got pace and he's got strength, but I don't know what he needs to. I'm guessing they pick him when they want a more sort of defensive formation, but it doesn't seem to offer that much defensively either. So I'm not sure. It's probably frustrating for him, but I agree. I'm not convinced. And when he does play, particularly out on the wing, I think it holds us back a little bit in some regards. So but agree with what Harry said, really.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I always think back to his debut against Liverpool and thinking that he was quite good at keeping the ball and going through the centre. As Harry said, that's probably where he's best suited. But obviously, you've got Andre and João Gomez in there. You know, they're irreplaceable. Tommy Doyle, same as an impact sub. So yeah, you're having to sort of square pegs, round holes territory a little bit, obviously still in those attacking roles, but I'm sure Vítor will be able to work his magic with him at some point as well. As Daniel says, Strand Larsen is 24, so younger than I thought. Harry, do you think he's going to be first on the shopping list for January, get that signed, sealed, delivered, or are we going to have to wait till the summer?
That's interesting. Yeah, I forgot he's on loan. Is it? I don't know if it's an obligation to buy.
I think it's an obligation.
Yeah,
I think it's an obligation. Yeah,
20 million, around the 20 million mark. I actually forget now. I assumed we'd already signed him, to be honest, but I think they will sign him. I mean, if it's been an audition this first half of the season, he's passed with flying colours, hasn't he? So I think we will pay the money for him. We need him, and I know Kalajic is going to come back. I forgot he even existed, but on the Amazon Prime footage in the changing room after the United game, he was stood there when he Kalajic with all the players, so he won't be far off coming back. So there's another option as a big centre forward, although will he be the same after 2 ACLs? I don't know. But yeah, to answer your question, I think we will be signing Strand Larsen whenever we can trigger it.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's looking like 30 million euros was the buyout. So it is on the expensive side. But then again, if he sort of ends the season with 10, 15 goals, which he's more than likely to do, it's not a lot of money, I don't think, and in this day and age.
No, I don't think it is. And Neil Lewis's comment there, it's like he mentioned Strand Larsen's attitude as well, and I think that's a massive plus. And totally agree with that. It's he seems like very committed and patient, and even himself has admitted that he's still getting used to the Premier League and he needs to do more physically, which is, you know, he's not going in there thinking he's prime Maradona or anything. He knows that he's still got to improve, and if there is more headroom for him to improve, and he's already got 7 goals in the Premier League, you know, without even playing for till 2025, then, you know, it's a massive, like, good sign, isn't it, really? So yeah, I'm pleased. I know there's frustration sometimes because you could say his hold-up plays better, or sometimes he can look a little bit lost in games, but we put so much pressure on him by basically being our only striker and having to play pretty much start every game, really. I know the game against Spurs was an exception, but that's just because we've had 2 games in 3 days. So I think for him to come in blind and pretty much be first choice with all that pressure on him, having not played in England before, I think he's done exceptionally well.
Completely agree. Let's move on to Nottingham Forest. I mean, we're pretty early for this one, aren't we, Harry? But it gives us a chance to sort of talk about Cunha because he is on the PremierLeague.com's injury list without a reason at the moment. It was the same for Lamina, but that now says he's carrying a knock. But the one thing that has been capturing the imagination regarding Cunha is how long his impending ban will be. Obviously, we've spoken about it at great length before. You've done your video on your own channel about it as well. There was a fake FA account that sprung up. Just tell us the story about that.
That was hilarious. Yeah, there's someone, which is a classic on Twitter or X. Someone pretended to be the FA spokesperson Twitter account and said he's got a 5-game ban, and all the mainstream papers like The Sun, the New York Times, and various others fell for it. Even a lot of like football fan pages fell for it as well and ran with it and said he's going to get a 5-game ban. Just before we laugh about that and get into that, I'm one of them. I thought Cunha, after he got charged, I thought he'd get banned almost instantly. And when it was going on and on, I thought, why not? So I did have a quick look, and thank you to the FPL people who really want Cunha to be available because obviously he's getting loads of points in their teams. This is normal. When it's a misconduct charge, Kudus is probably the best one to compare it with. He got a 5-game ban in 2023. From memory, roughly, he got charged on like the 18th of October, for example, and then he didn't actually get the ban till the 6th of November. This is a bit different because there is a bit of a delay with it being Christmas. A lot of people are going, no, they sorted the Villa one out. That's not true, but it is true. But this is a completely different area. People are off for Christmas. It would have took till, even if Christmas didn't exist, it would have took till early January anyway. So he might be available for Forest. It depends how long they do it. And there's also conspiracy theories, rumours going around that the Ipswich security guard may have used racial slurs towards him, but which I don't believe, because I think if that would have happened, we'd have heard about that. Cunha would have come out straight away and said that. He might have said something bad to him, like insulted him in another way, but the fact that Cunha hasn't said that, I don't believe that. But if that comes out, then fair enough. So it might go on and on. He might even be available on the 11th of January for Bristol in the FA Cup. But for us, we want him to be banned before that, so Bristol counts as one of his games. We're looking between 3 and 6 game ban with what he's done. Kuda's got a 5-game ban when he was karate chopping and fighting all the players and throwing them on the floor for his 5-game one. So this could be similar to that. And yeah, but I think we should have a laugh about the mainstream outlets falling for a fake tweet first.
Very good breakdown there, Harry. But the one that made me laugh, and I think probably you did as well, Jack, was the journalist who I think was either working for the Sun or somebody like that, saying that, you know, people shouldn't be allowed to create fake accounts, and it's like people shouldn't be allowed to just take something they've seen on Twitter and post it as news.
Yeah, the comeback tweet from the guy who, so I think it was a journalist for the Sun or something who ran with the story, and it just goes to show, really, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, that I don't know how much real journalism there is out there these days, particularly football journalism. I think we can name the ones on one hand who, as Wolves fans, we would say are proper reliable sources who actually break news, like the likes of John Percy, the likes of Fabrizio Romano. Apart from that, it just seems to be, you call yourself a journalist, but what you do is you just stay on Twitter all the time and try and copy and paste stuff as quickly as you can to try and beat the competition. And that's exactly what's happened here. And it goes to show that people from, it was the Mail, the Sun and the Athletic all did the same thing because they saw this fake tweet without properly researching it. One of the journalists then who got caught out puts out a tweet basically having to go at the person who did it, and their comeback, I don't know if you got the tweet there, Harry, but it basically sort of says, you know, it serves you right for, you know, calling yourself a journalist and not properly verifying source just because you've seen something on Twitter, which is spot on, isn't it, really? So
yeah, you can't argue with it.
Yeah,
just
so
funny. I mean, it does. I mean, we've been caught out, or things look so real sometimes, but I mean, the handle of the actual account was completely wrong. So
Cunha is not banned.
Yeah, that's it.
With Cunha is not banned, but he just changed his normal name to FA spokesperson.
Like, not a lot of creativity in that, but obviously, yeah, very, very funny to see. But we think he could be available, although he is on the injury list.
He might be injured, yeah.
Well, ideal scenario here is, like Harry was alluding to then, is they ban him after Nottingham Forest, so he misses Bristol City. We draw against Bristol City and force a replay. We get past Bristol City in the replay, so then he'll miss 3 cup games. So we'll get the 4th round in there as well at the end of January. So 3 of his games for his ban then potentially will be cup games. That's dreamland, obviously. It's not going to happen, but that would be the ideal scenario if we did want to just use the games up as quickly as possible. But it sounds to me, based on what Harry said and past research, that it's going to be in the first week or 2 of January that we probably get the verdict to this. So it's nice to see that it's not actually... I think like the Forest fans and the Southampton fan, not Forest fans, sorry, Ipswich fans and Southampton fans and Leicester fans were all a little bit thinking, you know, this is a joke because he's obviously had a blinder over the Christmas period for us when he should have been banned. But it's nice to see that there's precedent here for this being the norm. It's not a conspiracy theory against them to keep them down. So
totally agree. So who else plays, do you reckon, Harry? I imagine there'll be some changes from the team that drew to Spurs. Obviously, it's a week today, isn't it? So it's Monday Night Football next week. Yeah,
so it's a bit of a normal break. So you'd assume if Cunha is fit, obviously the ice packy on the back of his knee looks huge. So it could be, if he's available. If he's not banned and he is fit, obviously Cunha will start, especially with the looming ban coming. So we might as well try and get the most out of him that we can. You'd assume Lamina's still out. You'd assume that because he wasn't in the squad again. So you're probably looking at the same starting lineup as we had against Manchester United. He's out for 4 weeks. I forgot about that. He's out for a month. Yeah, he's out for 4 weeks. So that'll be a miss. We need to get a centre back in quick. I know we're going to get onto transfer rumours in a bit. So that's a prime area. But I don't really want to see Dawson at left centre half again. I don't know if he'll change that. Be interesting to see what he does, which I think he will. I think he will change. Vítor strikes me as someone who probably look at that and think, oh, that didn't work. let's change it up. But Andre and Gomez are fantastic in midfield together. So although I know there's a lot of shouts for Tommy Doyle, they're just so good together. I'd keep them in there. So I'd say the Man United starting 11 is probably our best team at the moment. So hopefully that's the one against Forest. And just on Forest, my God, another 2-0 win away at Everton. Gibbs White, I know we're meant to hate him, which as a person, not very nice, but what a player. Like, he took his goal well. He was instrumental in the goal as well. But they're flying, aren't they? Second in the league. Well, they was the last time I looked. Nuno, we've scored 5 more goals than Forest, but they're still second. Like, it's just classic Nuno tactics, isn't it? Organised, don't score many, but don't concede many. And the Forest fans are going to absolutely love him like we did. And I thought it was very poetic that he beat Spurs, a team that sacked him very quick when he was their manager, and he didn't last long, did he? But hats off to Nuno. Although I don't really like Forest as a club, and I'm not the biggest fan of Gibbs White, it's nice to see Nuno doing well, to be honest. But obviously, I want to beat them on the 6th of January on the Monday night game.
Did anyone hear the chanting that Forest and Spurs fans were doing to each other?
No.
It's so funny. I'm just trying to remember this off the cuff here, but essentially the Forest fans were singing to Spurs fans, "Champions of Europe, you'll never win that." And then it was along the lines of, "Champions of Europe, you weren't even born." And then they sang it back to the Spurs fans saying, "Champions of Europe, you won't be alive." So I thought it was just a great back and forth, a very good, mild-mannered banter. Good to see. Let's do a score prediction, Harry.
Well, we are playing well under Vítor, but Forest are flying and they're organised. So my logical head, if you put a gun to my head and you say I'm going to die if I get it wrong, I think Forest will win. But I'm going to go with my heart as usual. And I think we're going to do another 2-2. I'm going to go for another 2-2 draw at home to Forest.
Okie doke. Jack?
Yeah, really tough game this. I mean, they've won the last 5 on the row in the Premier League, which is just outstanding for no disrespect here, but for a team of Nottingham Forest's current caliber, it's impressive, isn't it? The only thing I keep thinking though is when you've won that many on the bounce, is in the Premier League, it is going to end eventually, and this could be the sort of game for them where they think and take their foot off the gas a little bit with those performances. So there is hope. I honestly don't know how this one will go, to be honest. Obviously, we're much improved under Pereira, as you can see. Forest absolutely flying, so it could be a great game again. And I'll sit on the fence as well and say, score draw. To be honest, 1-1. Why not?
Draw. Okay. I'm going to go 2-1 Wolves. I'm feeling good. I mean, what kind of vibes are you getting off Forest at the moment, Harry? I mean, I know a lot of people have started to say the words Leicester in 2016. I mean, you don't think Liverpool are catchable, or they'd be able to sort of stay the distance?
No. I mean, if they manage to get top 4, that would be incredible. That it's not quite the Leicester achievement of winning the league, but it's up there. It's up there as one of the craziest achievements, because they were on the brink of relegation last year. I know they've spent a lot of money and had their FFP problems and had about 1 million players come in, but it's Nuno, isn't it? Look what he did with us. He got us punching above our weight for 2 seasons, coming 7th twice, and there's no reason why they can't finish in the top 4 if they carry on. But they're just on a high, aren't they? And to be fair, their ground, their home ground is very loud, and their fans are good and passionate, to be fair. And obviously they've got a real deep and rich history as a club. And again, 3 gritted teeth, fair play, Gibbs White. Like, he's looking like a fantastic player who's going to establish himself in the England squad if he carries on. Chris Wood as well, a journeyman striker really when you look at his career, but he's looking deadly at the moment. Every time he goes through, he looks like he's going to score. He's a nuisance. He set up Gibbs White for the second against Everton as well. But I think Liverpool, it'd be a bit of a mini disaster if they don't go on and win the league now. But as I say, if they get top 4, what an achievement that would be. And I wouldn't put it past Nuno to achieve it, to be honest.
I think Chris Wood always scores against bloody us, it seems, as well, doesn't it? So can't wait for that. But remember, we did get a point against them away from home earlier in this fixture, this season under O'Neill. So that's sort of a gauge of, I think, how far apart the teams can be on their day, and especially if we've improved, that there is definite hope there. And I know Forest are doing really well, fair play to them, but they probably are batting a little bit above their average at the moment. I think if you're a realistic Forest fan from this position, I'd be shocked if they get top 4, to be brutally honest, even from here. But I think realistically they should be aiming for top 7. So
do we get a fee?
We know under Nuno that's do we get a fee?
We get good money if they get into any kind of European football. A trigger in the Gibbs White deal. Yeah, I don't know how much, but there is a trigger in the contract from when the deal was made. I remember that because I remember at the time we all laughed. When the deal was made, the clause about them getting into Europe, we were like, bloody Forest in Europe, and then a year later or two, then they might do it.
We thought they'd be like 11th in the Championship 18 months later, didn't we, to be brutally honest?
Right, let's have a look at some transfers or potential transfers that could be going through. Obviously, January transfer window opens on Wednesday. So it looks like, according to the BBC, Nick Mashita, which is what happens when someone steals your toilet, has written an article for BBC Sport, and it is about Club Brugge's Joel Ordonez and Lens's Kevin Danso as they look to improve defensive options. So centre-backs are high on Wolves' wanted list for January, with new boss Vítor Pereira, who's taken 7 points, as we've said, from his opening 3 games in charge. Ordonez is 20 years old, Danso 26. Apparently been tracked for a while by Matt Hobbs, and was some players that they were looking at when Gary O'Neill was here. Danso is an Austria international. He's in the academies at MK Dons and Reading. Also spent time on loan at Southampton in 1920 and joined Lens from Augsburg in 2021. Ordonez is an Ecuador international. Has been at Club Brugge since 2023 after starting his career at Independiente del Valle. Harry, I've seen a couple of the greatest hits, show reels, call them what you like, on YouTube of Danso, and he looks a very, very good player.
Yeah, he's the one I've seen the clips of. Looks good, obviously, good age, great age, and get a good centre half. And I saw Vítor Pereira was quoted as well as saying he only wants 1 centre half in January, which surprised me. He said we only need 1. I think we need a couple, so it'd be nice to get both of these chaps in. And obviously, Danso being Austrian, get a shrimp on the bar. Try and do a Dumb and Dumber joke there. Good day, mate. No, joking. I want the. I watched Dumb and Dumber the other day. I couldn't get that weird.
Never.
Yeah, I would like Danso. He looked good, and I don't know what the fee would be, but he's obviously in the French league, doing okay, and he's made, I think, 20 odd appearances for Austria. But it's a long way to travel over to the outback, isn't it? No, but yeah, Danso, someone like him would be perfect, and I hope they get him in straight away, early January. 1st of January, in the door, like Cunha did under Lopetegui a few seasons ago.
That'd be great. Hold me closer, Kevin Danso. It's going to happen, you can just tell. Jack, what do you reckon? Anything in this?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm not a journalist. You need to ask the guys on Twitter who copy and paste everything. They're in the know. But I think I've heard this guy, Danso, he's from Lens, isn't he? I've heard this one's been flying around quite a lot. So I think this is probably a warm source, or warmer than some of the nonsense that you see, particularly getting into January. But it's no great mystery that we need a centre back. Obviously, we needed one really in the close season, even when we had Mosquera fit. So I think that's going to be top of the shopping list. And I would have said I'd probably a striker as well, but maybe Hwang will come back into form and it won't be as important. But I think even if we just sign 1 player in January, it has to be a centre half, particularly when we're playing 3. And whether you like it or not, we are sort of playing even though he's been great, we're playing a full back there at the moment. Yeah. And Dawson can't pass a ball. So
my worry is that Jeff Shee will go, hold on, 7 points out of 3 games. We're out the bottom 3. Yeah, we'll get you a centre half, but apart from that, we're fine. This is what Jeff does, isn't it? He's like, if we get 2 or 3 players, we'll be absolutely fine. But he likes to live on the edge, Jeff, doesn't he? When we're pushing for the top 7 in years gone by in January, he's like, no, send Adama on loan to Barcelona. Don't sign anybody else. Just let people go, and then we're fine. And then it all falls off a cliff. And that's what I'm worried about. Now we've got 7 points in 3 and we're out the bottom 3. He might Nah, we ain't spending more than on one player. That's us done, which wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, the way it's been the last few years.
And you know what'll happen then? So then in the close season, Vítor Pereira will say he was promised a war chest, didn't get it, and leave despite keeping us up from a terrible position.
And then we'll get in bloody Gary Monk or someone. I don't know.
Gary Poundland,
just on that Pereira quote that Harry was saying, he said, "We're playing with 3 at the back, and I don't want 3 centre backs. I just want one central defender and a fullback, left or right. But it's a position that we need to bring someone in with some expertise." So it looks like Doc will be staying there. Nothing else I've seen transfers wise. So I guess we wrap up the podcast and we wrap up the year with our top moments of 2024. I imagine we're all going to probably say the same. Which ones stick out for you, Harry? Maybe a top 3.
Yeah, number 1 is obviously West Brom. It's weird because you're only looking at the first few months of the year and probably the last month of the year. Everything else in between has been, last week. Everything else has been a bit of a disaster. West Brom, obviously very, very good for us. Spurs 2-1 away under O'Neill. Chelsea 4-2 away. 2 brilliant victories. A lot of away victories, really. More recently, I'm going to reel off a few. Sorry, not 3. The Man United home one you could probably throw that in there as one of our better moments. Literally on Boxing Day. Leicester away, obviously. Fulham away under O'Neill. Because obviously I won my 4-1 bet on a personal note. That was a highlight, winning that 4-1 bet. But and a big highlight for me, actually, probably Pip's Albion. This might sound harsh. Was getting rid of O'Neill. That is probably top of my list because I thought it was long overdue, and I was like cheering when it happened. It was like we'd just scored a last minute winner when I seen the announcement. So yeah, but I think everyone's. And so I did a video. I said to you tonight before we come on, I've done a video on this on my own YouTube channel, the top 5, and I've done all the ones we've just mentioned, but it's flopped on its ass because I think people have seen it, seen the title, and gone 5 moments of 2024. You're on crack, Harry. I ain't watching that, and it's not done very well in terms of views. But yeah, Albion 28th of January. Watching them all kick off and cry as well when Cunha put us 2-0 up was brilliant.
Yeah, it could beat that. Jack?
Yeah, totally agree. Obviously,
you were there, obviously.
Has to be number 1. Yeah, watching them have a little tantrum on the telly, and then some of the absolute states that were wandering around that pitch after were just absolutely hilarious. And they have the goal to call us dingles, and Jesus Christ. So and it's also I kind of liked it just from the fact as well that particularly all these again, try not to be horrible, but big 6 football fans who don't go to games, it kind of put our derby on the map a little bit. Because people who actually know football, they call it out as being, one of the sort of most hatred between the clubs derbies in the country. And the real football fans, they kind of, they respect that as well. And but they always think, it's Spurs and Arsenal or these sorts of things, or Manchester, Liverpool. And it's not some of the ones down at the lower levels or historically, I think are much more, the likes of us, the likes of Blackburn and Burnley, these sorts of things. So it's nice to just stand out and be on terrestrial telly, and not so much seeing it all kick off. I don't condone that, but it made the game get noticed a little bit, didn't it? If you know what I mean. So maybe I've worded that terribly, but you get my point, I think. Apart from that, there's not a lot, is there really? I was at the away game at Chelsea. I was at the away game at Fulham, both where we scored 4 away from home. Yeah. Good days under O'Neill. There weren't many others this year apart from those that I can think of off the top of my head. So I think you'd probably say, either the 3-0 away at Leicester or the because that's a massive game as well. That 3-0 away at Leicester, first game coming in. He's only had 3 days with the squad, if that really. To go there and pull that off and keep a clean sheet was a massive moment, and it's really set the tone for the 2 games that followed. So that's a big one as well, really. So that's it really. I think Harry's mentioned everything else that even has a chance. So
well, I on my video I had the Leicester 3-0 win away as number 2. I had it as my second favourite moment, just because I mixed it in with the Vítor Pereira joining. So he's like because and for the fact it was such a huge game. So if we lost that, it could have been a disaster if we'd have lost that game.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Wouldn't have set the tone very well for that Man United game at all. Perfect. Right. Okay. Well, we will see you sort of after the Forest game, and it was Bristol City after that, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So FA Cup action. Well, Happy New Year. Thank you for listening this year. We do appreciate your company, and we look forward to doing it all again in 2025. But we'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yeah, this will be going into our 9th year of doing the podcast as well. Which, when you
Bloody
say
hell,
that,
is it? Liz, wow.
Well,
Really?
we started the podcast in September of 2017.
Yes.
So you're going into our 9th year, which is mind blowing in itself when you say that, because it don't feel like 9 years.
It's not. It's not.
Well, hold on, 2017. 18, 19, 20, add 4, 7. It'd be our 9th year next year.
Okay.
Am I
so
going
we're
mad?
overlapping. Like,
Am I going mad?
Might be our ninth.
yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. No, we're going into our 8th year.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
we haven't done full years. If you're counting the bit at the end of 2017. And
Yeah. So when we get to August next year, that'd be 8 years.
Let's talk about
it. Don't really matter.
Not being recorded.
It don't really matter. Well, anyway, what I was trying to say is,
it was goodbye, was it?
It was goodbye and thank you for listening. I mean, I don't know. You probably won't anymore after that ending. But there we go.
It's our 15th anniversary next year.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh God. Well, it's a goodbye from Jack.
Yeah, goodbye everybody, and hope you all have a good night tomorrow night, and Happy New Year, and we'll see you all after the Forest game.
Excellent. And it's a goodbye from me. Goodbye.